Hello everybody. Gonna do a shave video, not exactly a review. This is more of a, I guess, an instructional video. But first, I wanted to show you a little bit of changes. I won't give you a whole shot, but kind of installed some new shelves. Got my new Pav brush. This is a brush that is essentially a gift from many of you, from the gifts that you've given me in the last month or so. You all know why. But I had Scott Pavkovich make me a brush. I wanted a different kind of brush. I wanted to base that off his beastie pattern, but I want it beefier and beastier. This is a Pav, he calls it Mega. I named this, I wanted to show you. This is where it's going to sit, right up there. Okay. I named it Amore Maximus. The most love, the highest love, the ultimate love. Greg Smith inspired me for the Amore part, but not exactly. He threw out some letters to say certain things, and I have interpreted that as a memory of Rhonda every day. That's what this is. But today, I want to do a shave instructional video. Let me zoom this in a little bit. On using new products and equipment. Of course, I've kind of been on a little buying binge, a little bit of depression relief. And I've gotten a few things. Not only have I gotten the brush, but I've gotten some Dapper Dragon soaps. And I'm going to be doing a shave with Dapper Dragon Blood Orange today. I've also gotten a new vintage razor. This is a new improved 1920s era razor. I started off and I used it. The bottom comes out, the top lifts off. It's 3-piece. I'm going to be using a Super Iridium extra stainless Pole Silver. I started off and I used a Kai blade in this, and this razor has been known to be a mild shaver. So I thought, well, Kai blade ought to go well with that. It ripped me up. And I don't know if it was a combination of my muscle memory being off or whatever. But it was pretty rough. Not as far as, it was smooth, but I got cut up quite a bit. So I decided to go with the Pole Silver, which I know is a very smooth, sharp, but not super sharp blade. And that's one of the things when you're using a new piece of equipment, a new razor, a razor that you're not familiar with, you can make some assumptions about it from the research that you've done, the things that you should be doing whenever you're buying new equipment. And you think, oh, this ought to work with it. And it doesn't. And you know, we've seen the guys post on the boards, we've seen them do the videos, and you all know who they are, who use a new product and it doesn't work for them, and they go, oh, that crap product, yeah, here, I'm putting it up for sale, or I'm piffing it, somebody want it, take it. But chances are it's not the fault of that product, it's the fault of the dummy that didn't know how to use it. And we've all been dummies who didn't know how to use those products. It's mostly our fault. And products have a groove that you have to find. And that's one of the mistakes we make with this hobby, is assuming that there are so many constants of how you do things. There aren't. Each situation, each factor that you put into your shave affects how that product worked, how this piece of equipment works, how all the pieces come together to give you a shave. That's what makes this hobby interesting, is that you have to learn the right combinations to put together to make an excellent shave for you. An excellent shave for you, the next guy standing next to you in the bathroom doing the shave, like they did back in the 50s and 60s, in the locker rooms. We don't do that much anymore. But, you know, the guy standing right next to you, figuratively, before the mirror, can use the exact same products, the exact same equipment, and have a totally different result. That's because you are the individual factor that makes the difference. So, when you're using a new piece of equipment, particularly a razor, you just have to take it one step at a time. If one blade doesn't work, try another one. If one particular technique doesn't work, try a different technique. If you have to use some pre-shave to give you that little extra protection and prevention from having problems, do it. You just have to play around with it. Don't give up on new equipment too quickly. Try it. Time of the year may make a difference. This time of the year, we're coming into springtime, summer, maybe a little bit more humid, whereas versus in the wintertime, it's very, very dry. Your skin's different. So, you know, a different type of the year. You may have certain pieces of equipment you only use during certain times of the year. But that's what we're going to try here. We'll see how it works out with that. This razor is definitely going to be replated, I'm thinking silver, because I think that's what's on it. I think it's a silver plate, and there's a lot of the brassing that has come through from the silver wearing off. So, new soaps. When you try out a new soap, generally you want to try to use it with a brush that you know how it performs. You don't want to try with a new brush. Well, today I'm going to try with a new brush. I've used it. I know it's a pretty good soap, so I will experiment with it. But you need to try it out with a variety instead of giving your initial opinion of, oh, this soap isn't this good, or this soap is wonderful. A soap may work wonderfully with a silver tip badger and not work so wonderfully with something else. Or it may work wonderfully with a very firm-backed boar brush and not work so well with badger. So, you know, all those different factors, you got to find out what works with that product. And certain products work better with certain equipment. Now, brand new brushes. There are some brushes that have very little break-in time. It's usually your badger brushes, but yet there is still a break-in time. There's still some softening of the tips, some molding of the bloom. This brush has begun to bloom, but it will bloom some more. Had a discussion with somebody about how do they take care of their brushes. Some people may say, "Oh God, don't do this," but I gently dry off my brushes, rinse them out. I don't use hot water. I use sort of tepid to cool water, and rinsing them out. Rinse them out. I squeeze them out. Squeeze out the water. Rinse them out some more. Put some water in the knot until it comes out pretty clean. I rub it on a towel, and then I use a blow dryer on a medium heat. And I just put the blow dryer up here, put my fingers here like this, spread out, and I just kind of do this, fluffing it out and partially drying it out. I don't dry it out all the way. I partially dry it out. I shape it and open it up just a little bit to get some of that air down in deep, to dry it out just a little bit. And somebody said, "Okay, upwards or downwards, how do you dry them?" A brush like this, I don't have any choice. I got to dry it up like this. Drying it down like that, some people say it doesn't work as well. I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference. The air is going to evaporate the water regardless. Now, starting it out, always soak your brush at least for a few minutes. Don't use super hot water. Use warm water. Your pucks, soak them up. I've just come out of the shower, washed my face, let the soap sit on my face for a while, so I should be pretty good there. I'll put a little bit of water on my face again, and I'm going to start lathering. I poured the water off, shook the brush out. Now, one thing that you want to do when you're first starting out with the brush, trying to figure it out, start off pretty dry. Moisten your soap, soften it up a little bit, but start off pretty dry. And just work the tips. You don't want to mash it down, but just load it up. And there's been a lot of talk of people about, oh, you only have to run it for 10 seconds, for 20 seconds, for 30 seconds. Loading your brush doesn't make a whole lot of difference. You just want to load your brush, whether it takes 10 seconds or whether it takes a minute or 2 minutes. Load your brush. Load it well. If you're using a big brush like this, maybe add a little bit of water and doing a little bit of extra time, because this brush is going to hold a lot of lather, and the amount of loading on a small brush is going to be shorter than the amount of loading on a big brush. So we'll see how this goes. I've bowl lathered with this brush, and usually that's how I start when I try out a new brush, is I bowl lather it to see how it'll work up that way. And then I move on to face lathering. There are some brushes that do far more efficient work in the bowl than on the face. Same with your soaps. There are some soaps that work far better bowl lathering than face lathering. There are some soaps that work well in both situations. There are some brushes that work well in both situations. That's what you're going to have to find out. And of course, then there's the U factor. And I think some of you know who you are. Some people just have more trouble making lathers than others. It's more of a challenge. So you have to work on it. But here we go. Let's see what this does. I'm starting off. I started off dry. This is dry. And it's going on pretty dry. Going on pretty cakey. So what do I need to do? I need to add some water. Open up a little bitty hole. Poke a little bit of water in there. But this brush, from what I've seen so far, this has got a WSP, a wet shavings product, I believe that is. Extra dense, super fine, 32 millimeter knot. I love it, I love it, I love it. It's set at 52 millimeters. Scott and I had a discussion about that. For this size of knot, for this dense of a knot, that's probably about as low as you could set it and it not have too much backbone. Now this brush has got a lot of nice backbone. It doesn't splay out a huge amount, but it splays out enough. It splays out enough. Probably no more than maybe 55 millimeters, 56 millimeters, and probably the sweet spot for this, but probably up towards 55, 56 millimeter in this size of knot. It just might be too floppy. It just depends on what you like. Probably the sweet spot that would hit the perfect of everything might be just a little bit higher, maybe 33, 34 millimeters loft. But as it is a fantastic work. So I've worked the lather up, nice lather, nice thick lather. Let's see how this rolls. Now when you're using a new razor too, you want to be careful. Now this Polsilver seems to be just mild enough that maybe I won't have the nicks and the weepers that I had before. Feels pretty good. Pretty nice, working pretty good. So, what do you do if on those first few strokes and passes you're having any real discomfort with a new blade, with a new razor? Do you keep on going? You stop. Yes, stop. And you do something different. First of all, you need to make sure and check that the razor is functioning properly, which means that you've got the blade seated right, that everything's straight, that all those pieces of equipment are put together well. But if that particular blade isn't working for you, then try something else. Now the second pass I'm coming along, it's pretty good thickness. I think I need a little bit more water. But what do you do if you put on that second pass coat of lather and it's real thin? What do? You go back to the puck. I've seen so many guys struggle in their videos and talk about it in their shaves of the day about, it really thinned out in the second pass and I had so much trouble with it and it just didn't do a good shave. Add some more cotton picking soap to your brush. Don't struggle through a poor shave just because you wanted to prove some type of myth that you don't have to go back to the puck. Come on, guys, use some sense. There's nothing macho about starting off a shave and not having to go back to the puck, not having to do this or do that. There are no rules to this hobby. None. There's some general guidelines. There's some general principles. There's some general practices that are good to adhere to most of the time. But when it comes to you shaving your face, the only rules that need to be made and followed are the ones you make for you. Now later on, I'm gonna wash my mouth out with soap for this. But for you guys that use cartridge razors and get good results from them, don't let people badmouth you about it. If it works for you, it works for you. I myself, it chews me up, maybe not during the shave, but afterwards. I get a lot of irritation. I get just a bad result a few hours later. That's the damn fine shave after 2 passes. This is going to be a good combination of Polsilver and the new improved. People ask me, okay, how does that shave? I've been wanting a new improved for a very, very, very long time. I waited around until I found one that is in pretty good condition as far as the base. The finish is going to need to be redone. But I found one that is in good operating condition, good teeth, not super worn off as far as the knurling on the handle, all those things that would be a good candidate for a replate. How does it shave? Well, it's shaved similarly to the new short comb, and well, it shaves similarly to a lot of the open comb Gillettes. Just put it that way. I wouldn't say it's a super mild shave. Let me do a little bit more touch up. It's not super mild. There's a hint of aggression in it. It's a step down from the Gillette old style. It does have some aggression to it. And see, that's proof. I still got some weepers. So, this may be one of those razors that I need to use a pre-shave oil with, or a pre-shave balm. I don't know. I've never had a razor that operated like that. So, give you another look at this. Nice lather machine. Just comment on how we're doing. We're doing well. Taking it a day at a time. I've had a lot of people ask, "How you doing, John?" Taking it a day at a time. Emotionally, I'm good. Seriously thinking about writing a book. I've really started laying down some general ideas. Really thinking about writing a book about coping with stress and coping with grief. I seem to be sort of an expert at it in more ways than one. Of course, I'd tie some shaving stuff in there. Always will do that. Kids are doing okay. Um, Justin's had a little bit of adjustment problems. Um, but I think in the long run he'll do all right as long as I figure out how to deal with him. Bigsby is still escaping from the backyard. I'm still working on how to contain that dog. Um, Chase is coming over more frequently. He's seen the importance of connections and keeping in contact with us. Ivana's doing all right. Anxious to get a job this summer. Work's doing okay, just busy, busy, busy. So that's the shave. I may need to use a little bit of alum if that doesn't come down. But when using new products, you just got to test them out. You got to go slow. You got to factor in the U factor. And don't give up on products too soon. So until next time, have some good shaves. Be happy. Be safe. Bye-bye.